There are some Christians who believe that polygamy is okay. So now, I would preface this and say, when it comes to relationships, it really depends on the couple as to how they wish to honor their relationship and come up with their own boundaries and rules and things they want to abide by, values that they share, the mission that they have, how to move their relationship forward, on and on and on. So some people believe that an open marriage is for them and that's how they thrive as a couple. Some people believe in polygamy and polyamory, and it's up to the couple as to what works for them and what doesn't. So now, if you are in a relationship with somebody you align with in values and beliefs, then great. And if you find yourself in a position where you don't align in values and beliefs, then it might be a little hard and it's something to work through. It's either a deal breaker or it's not. So to each their own. Everybody has their own beliefs about how these things work and what is good for them and all that kind of stuff. So in a Christian context, an open marriage is not even something that we would consider as okay. There are Christians who believe in polygamy because they feel like God was silent in this issue of polygamy. And there are kings and emperors who had a lot of wives and concubines. And I would say that this is a product of their time. Historically speaking, women didn't have any rights. They didn't have the ability to provide for themselves. There's prostitution back in the day too, but that's not something that is the right way to go about making money for yourself. And women back in the day, they're mostly considered property of their father, property of their husbands. So they don't really have a say and they don't have a way of providing for themselves. And so the fact that certain affluent men can afford to provide for multiple women compared to the rest of the nation is just an evolution thing so that they can move the human species forward. So in today's context, where we know more about psychology and mental health and all these kinds of things, I put forth the idea that for most people it is not psychologically beneficial. And somebody who is a proponent of polygamy stated that they knew people who are polygamous who believe that they cannot withstand or deal with a monogamous lifestyle. And I understand that. So now when we look at how the Bible portrays marriage, Jesus and the bride being the church. Jesus gave up his life for the church. And that is to be the model we have for how we treat our spouse. How Jesus treats the church and patiently guiding and loving on the church, regardless of how sinful we are. And that is just the model of holy matrimony that we are to bring forth in our marriage. Respect, love, and just ultimate patience. Just inhuman amount of patience. I'm gonna say inhuman because as humans, we tend to be very impatient, especially in our culture nowadays of everything's very instant. We tend to be very impatient and very critical of each other, that we have no room for understanding the other person. And as individuals, we are to grow in our relationship. And a lot of people would say, oh, they changed on me. This is why I need a divorce, because they changed on me. Well, as human beings, we are to grow. And so yes, eventually you change, but you change for the better, right? Hopefully, you're okay with your partner changing for the better and growing as a person and not use that as an excuse for divorce. And hopefully, when they say they changed on me, they mean like, oh, they were so sweet before and now they're a complete monster beating me up every single day. They changed for the worse. And it'd be hard to stay with that person. And it would be a valid reason to get a divorce if it's not something that they can overcome, right? We all have our demons, and sometimes we fall into the trap of despair. And to say that they permanently change might not be accurate. Maybe they're struggling with something, some mental issues. They just need help. They need therapy to overcome all of those violent tendencies and be rehabilitated. And in that regard, then we definitely should stick around and work on the marriage, right? Because sometimes there's just ups and downs, and that's just normal. If they threatened your life, then that's a different story. Definitely separate yourself, and hopefully they're working on themselves as well with the help of a therapist. And you definitely need help with a therapist as well, because that's a lot of trauma to deal with and to hash out and process. And if we're going to talk about what's right and wrong and the implications of that,